public urination, public urination, public urination, public urination.
Republican Lauren Boebert fell face first into a puddle of her own making while attempting to cosplay as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And an AOC she is not. So we're going to get to this clip. It is so embarrassing. And it showcases just how low the standards are to become a congressperson, at least in the Republican Party. So this is during a hearing about crime in Washington, D.C., which Congress is holding a hearing on. So to be clear on that, this is why no city in America has political dynamics quite like Washington's, where Congress has the power to overturn the city council's will, which it did for the first time in 30 years over what local officials say was merely an update that would bring its criminal code in line with national standards. So this happened with, by the way, the help of Joe Biden. Congress overturns D.C. crime bill with President Biden's help. Biden did not veto this. He let it go through. And this is where we get to this clip, because this apparently is complete news to Lauren Boebert. And that's just the tip of how embarrassing this clip is. So here Bobert is talking with Charles Allen, a city councilman who chaired the D.C. Judiciary Committee, which considered the revisions to the criminal code.
Mr. Allen, based on these statistics, I would like to talk to you about some other things that are going on here in Washington, D.C., specifically an initiative that you led. In November of 2022, you led the charge to reform D.C.'s crime laws. Is that correct?
I chaired the committee that proposal came through.
You led this charge, yes, sir. And these changes are now law here in D.C., correct?
Do you mean the revised criminal code?
Yes.
No, those are not the law.
Those are not the law.
The
revised criminal code was rejected by...
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm talking to Mr. Allen.
Yes,
Mr. Allen, did you or did you not decriminalize public urination in Washington, D.C.? Did you lead the charge to do so?
No, the revised criminal code left that as a criminal charge.
Did you lead the charge to decriminalize public urination in Washington, D.C.?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever vote in favor of decriminalizing public urination in Washington, D.C.?
The revised criminal code that was passed by the council
support
kept it as a criminal offense.
and you support this criminal?
I voted for it, yeah.
You voted to keep it as a criminal offense.
That's correct. The full council did.
We have records that show that you were in favor of removing that criminal offense and allowing public urination.
No,
Is that something that you intend to pursue in the future?
No, the legislation you're referring to that came from the Criminal Code Reform Commission changed public urination from a criminal to a civil offense. The council then changed that to maintain it as a criminal offense at the request of the mayor.
Thank you. I yield.
How embarrassing. And I have a follow-up clip where a Democrat dunks on her, so wait for that here. But look at the grasping at straws. The way she has to devolve her argument because her initial statement was completely incorrect. These changes are now law, correct? No. Did you decriminalize public urination? No. Did you lead the charge to decriminalize it? No. Did you vote in favor of decriminalizing it? No. I have records showing you allowed it. No, you don't. Okay, but do you intend to pursue this in the future? No. So embarrassing. This is, yes, it's the fault of Bobert, but I gotta wonder, is somebody on her staff trying to, I don't know, sabotage her in some way? Because a lot of this research beforehand is usually done by staffers. That's what helps set them up to do this stuff. So her hiring process ain't too good if this is the information they're giving you. And if you don't even know that this was overturned by Congress. Like, where have you been? if that's how you start your entire argument, thinking that this is actually, that these changes were made, you are, the way she set herself up there for disaster was just remarkable. It is, the standards are low, of course. The bar is very low, but to not even know just basic facts around what you were discussing when you're in a position of power like this, it shows you just how low the bar is for people to be a member of Congress as a Republican. Now, you may think, well, public urination, it must be a massive issue in Washington, D.C. This must be one of the bigger problems that they're having. Here are the facts. To be clear, the Metropolitan Police Department is not issuing very many of these tickets. In the past 2 years, police have recorded just 29 instances of public urination or defecation. In its data, MPD does not separate urination and defecation, but a sampling of 10 incident reports reveals 100% pee. So this is a non-issue. Yet you have Congress, a member of Congress, focusing on a specific issue of crime in the city around public urination that isn't even that important. 29 times in 2 years. Just ridiculous. And she has an obsession with this issue, apparently. This is back in November. We are the most powerful nation on earth, and our capital city is about to legalize public urination, which it was never going to do. It was moving it from criminal to civil offense, because our homeless problem is so out of control, which you would solve by putting people into homes, which Bobert does not support. They used to call DC a swamp. Now it's a urinal. And by the way, if public urination was a serious issue, and maybe in some places it is, the solution to that would not be to further criminalize it. The solution would be to maybe have public washrooms. Like, why is that so hard to understand that we have bodily needs, and maybe in very in places where there are a lot of people walking around, there's a lot of foot traffic, maybe it makes sense to have places that people can go to the washroom. But that would involve public investment. Can't do that. So a little more, let's forget to the last, or this follow-up clip, which is hilarious. So quote here, "I don't understand why we're having this hearing," said Representative Gerald Connolly. "I could go through a lot of states right now, especially on the red side, where I don't like their policies, I don't like their elected officials, and I'd like to have a hearing to second guess them and overturn their legislation." This is a great point, because you have here, this is another example. This is what was passed by Congress and Biden here. This is another great example for why DC should be its own state. For Congress to have this much power over a city, it's blatantly undemocratic for them to overturn what city officials decided to do. But that's the power they currently yield, because DC is not its own state. Now, you know what? I was going to go over this, but this is too much. So essentially, if you want to know more about the criminal code in DC, which I doubt many of you do, but essentially, this was an update to criminal laws dating back to 1901. All right? So it needs an update. That's why they were doing this. And the outcome was just basic revisions that fell in line with national standards. One example is that carjackings, currently they face jail sentences between 15 and 40 years, but the new code sets the highest penalty at 24 years, which is in line with what judges were doing anyways, and also in line with what they do nationwide, which we could have a separate topic on that, or a separate discussion on this. 24 years for a look, carjacking, don't carjack. 24 years in prison seems a little ridiculous to me. But anyways, let's move on to the last clip here. This is Representative Becca Balint, I believe is how you say her name, a Democrat here from Vermont, who is dunking on Bobert in a very hilarious way, which also, in this moment, Bobert again embarrasses herself.
Been addressing a number of really serious concerns that our constituents have. They're choosing to waste our time by meddling in the District of Columbia and talking about public urination over and over. Just want to make sure, do you have anything additional you want to say about public urination? Now's your time.
I do.
No, not you. I'm talking to, it's not your time. It's a question.
I'll wait
to
till your
these
time's
people
up.
who
I
have
do have
come
something
here.
else to say.
Do you have anything additional to say regarding public urination?
How? How did she manage to embarrass herself again? Really a funny moment there. And I just want to end on this. I don't know, maybe this is why Bobert is kind of obsessed with this issue. In case you don't know about this, I've covered this in the past. Lauren Boebert's husband did jail time for lewd exposure in a bowling alley, and she was there. So if you want to talk about, stricter sentencing around public urination, your husband, under your standards, should be in jail. But, of course, these people are not serious about anything. Just clowns. Absolute clowns. And the benefit of a clown, though, is that they're funny, even if they don't mean to be.